Hi, this is AlfaQurFace with another video. Today we are taking a deep dive into Reddit. If you enjoy this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Enjoy. r/Askreddit. You have any fucked up family secrets? Here's mine. On my wife's side, but family nonetheless, all the girls in the family have been sexually molested/raped by pedo grandfather. Mom won't hear it. Father-in-law can attribute some of his success to doing business with organized crime. One nephew, 14, is a father. Same nephew, whose parents are divorced, was molested by his stepfather and beat up by his older brother because his own mother encouraged it. My brother-in-law still sleeps in the same bed with his 11Y/0 daughter. Wife sleeps in another room. My side. My mom had an affair with a married man. Said married man left his wife with breast cancer. His method of choice: send ex-wife and kids on a vacation and move out while they were gone. Till this day, they claim they started their relationship after the divorce. My brother committed suicide after my stepfather ran him off to live with his biological father. They still claim that it was an accident. All I can think of now. May edit with more later. Dump your shit here. My dad spent over $100,000 on escorts during the last 5 years of his 35-year marriage, ended in divorce. Half of the escorts were transsexuals in various stages of male to female transition. He wrote online reviews of many of the escorts. I've read all of them. Great uncle killed himself after getting the Hispanic maid pregnant. My cousin committed a multiple murder of a couple with a rifle in front of their baby. Then he stole their car. Life in prison. My mom kept it from me until I was older, obviously. Also, not really a secret, but my grandma swears that her brother had an affair with the girl on the Sun-Made Raisins box. I don't have any proof for you, but I believe her. I looked it up, and she's a real person who lived where he was living while he was in the army, Fresno, and there's a few appropriately aged kids with his and my last name living in the area. My last name is not common at all. Not proud of the first one, proud of the second. My mother was adopted. She found her biological family later in life. She then extorted them for as much money as possible before they cut all contact with her, and by extension me. I have no idea what kind of messed up lies she told about me for sympathy and or more money. She has stolen money from everyone in my family including me. She is an alcoholic, lying waste of life, and the world will be much better when she finally dies from lung disease/heart and liver failure. She beat me as a child. My grandparents live in the Middle East. They used to have a child slave. Basically an impoverished family sent their then 12-year-old daughter to live with my grandparents, to work as a maid. She worked day and night and waited on my grandmother. She was being paid for her work, but not to her personally, but to her parents for safekeeping for when she is older. She didn't go to school and could barely read or write. I never realized how fucked up this was until many years later. I was 6 at the time. I'm 21 now. I've spoken out against it to my mother and grandparents now, but this is many years after the fact, and I'm told to keep quiet about it because people will misunderstand. So yeah, that's my fucked up family secret. My uncle was a very high up sannyasi for the Hare Krishna. As a result, he spent 30 plus years living in India. He would do tons of charitable work, and even though we have different religious views, I respect him immensely for all the good he did in the world. He passed away around 6 or 7 years ago, and, in his will, he left over $9,000 to one of his favorite underfunded schools in India. My aunt, his sister, was named one of the co-executors of his will. The other executor was one of his disciples. After his death, she forged the signature of his disciple, withdrew the $9,000, and used it on a holiday for herself, my grandmother, and my cousin. They stayed at 5-star hotels and went out every night. The kids in India went without anything. It disgusts me. This is my worst. A second cousin of mine was a twin, but the second baby was born a stillborn. Her parents were very open with her about this. This woman, however, was psychotic. One day, on the bus, she was convinced that she saw her twin. She told her entire family that they were wrong, that her brother was alive and well, but had obviously been adopted. She continued to see her twin on the bus and struck up conversation with him a few times. They ended up dating. That's right. A woman and who she thought was her dead twin began dating. A few months later, they break up, only for her to discover that, oh no, she is pregnant with her dead twin's child. The pregnancy went on until she went in to discover the sex of the baby. I honestly don't know how they didn't catch it sooner, but it turns out that this baby was not real. She had had a false pregnancy. She had thought she was pregnant so hard that her body acted like she was pregnant. Pregnant with her dead twin's baby. My family doesn't like to talk about it. My mother slept with a man who had been raping/molesting me for the past year and a half. The worst part about it was that she knew what he was doing and slept with the guy anyway. Fuck you, mom. Well, this isn't so incesty. Found out at 18 that my mom is an illegitimate child. My maternal grandfather is not biologically related. For years I would look at my yearbook pictures and find it puzzling that in most photos, I looked exactly like this kid in my class. The resemblance was uncanny. Turned out that he was my illegitimate half-uncle. My grandmother let that secret slip once when she was drunk. She'll never admit to it, while my grandfather is still alive. Like any family, mine's got some shit, but I think the most screwed up thing was how my sister treated me when we were younger. She used to fuck with me, psychologically. I was like 5, and she would suddenly start acting different, and telling me that I wasn't real, that I had died during an accident years ago, that our parents were dead, and I hadn't been able to cope with it, so I just imagined they were still alive. As an incredibly impressionable youngster, these sessions always drove me to tears, and always occurred when my parents would be out for most of the night, leaving me alone in the house with her for hours on end. Once I got older and understood she was just a bitch, she stopped. I don't think there were any long-term effects from it, but I can still remember one time when she just stared at me with these cold unfeeling eyes and told me I wasn't real. I felt sick and just started sobbing, and she just kept staring at me. As I cried, she turned out the light in my room and locked me in, telling me to think about what she told me. In the 1980s, my aunt was heavily into drugs, married a guy also heavily into drugs. They had a kid. The guy started cheating on her when their daughter was 6 months old. They got divorced. The guy marries the woman he was cheating on my aunt with. They have 3 kids and are on and off married until the early 2000s. One of their kids is named Luke, and he and I went to school together. We were in the same 2nd grade class, and he, predictably, has severe behavioral problems. My mom, his half-sister's aunt, worked at the school and was the only person who could calm him down. So my mom was called into our 2nd grade classroom at least once a week to get Luke to calm down and stay focused. Eventually the school hired a teacher's assistant to basically just help Luke with things for the rest of the year, so my mom could focus on her job. Fast forward to 4th grade, Luke is suspended for having a joint in his backpack, which his parents apparently thought was hilarious to put in there. 5th grade. A few 6th graders were expelled for selling X on the playground. Luke was undeniably high on X one day just before this, and 11-year-old me ended up having to sit in school suspension with this 10-year-old while he was tripping. They couldn't get a hold of his parents, so they called my mom, who had gone on to work for a different school district and couldn't leave to help a kid that's not even related to her. So my principal and guidance counselor asked me to sit with him. Luke really clung to the idea that he was related to someone as normal and quiet as me and my family. 6th grade, the school intentionally put Luke and I in the same class in case he started freaking out again. They asked my teacher to seat us near each other so I could watch him. We had our desks in pods of 2 to 4 all year, and he was always either in my pod or one pod away. One day, he was high on some sort of hallucinogen when we came to school in the morning. I don't recall what we had to do that morning, but it involved colored pencils. He was convinced we were all driving around in cars powered by colored pencils. On another occasion, he was convinced Retta was walking through the school. Towards the end of the school year, I saw another kid selling him pills. They pulled me aside, and the other kid offered to make out with / finger me in exchange for not telling on them. I politely declined, and went to the principal, who didn't believe me. About a week before the school year ended, there was a rumor that he impregnated a girl. The girl miscarried, according to my cousin, Luke's half-sister, my mom's sister's daughter. He was expelled in 7th grade for dealing pot at school and put in the alternative school. He was kicked out of the alternative school and sent to juvie in 9th grade. He's 21 and finally starting to get his life on track. He's got a 10-year prison sentence if he breaks his parole. As you probably guessed, it's time for some dank memes. Let's go. Woman in the 1600s. The church. Quarantine finally over. Barber, who's next? People. Son, one day you'll grow up to be a man. Lol dad, I am 23. Yes, but you use TikTok. Thanks for watching this video. Don't be afraid to send this to your parents, kids, or grandparents. Hit that like button and subscribe. : close bracket.